The player tried to run, but he wasn't fast enough. A huge white claw reached out of the bushes and grabbed his Roblox avatar, dragging him back down, dragging him back into the dark. There he came face to face with SCP-096, the Shy Guy, letting out a terrible roar as his jaws stretched open to devour the player, just like he'd done to so many others. It was a terrible first night for the new Roblox DOORS update, The Great Outdoors. Then came a blood-curdling scream over voice chat, a death scream, and the player logged out without a word. The player's 3 friends, all logged into the same server, stood in silence, wondering in their respective darkened bedrooms what exactly had happened, until the answer wandered out from beyond the trees. The entity we would know as SCP-096, that he certainly wasn't happy about being seen. As the players scattered, running away to different buildings, perhaps assuming this was all just a standard part of the game. But as the Shy Guy began to chase each one down, it all felt very real. One player heard his 2 remaining friends giving terrible shrieks as the monster attacked them before immediately logging off. The last player was trapped inside the mess hall, terrified, when he heard the enraged screaming of the monster outside running towards him. Before he could even exit the server, 096 smashed through the wall and was upon him. Back in the player's darkened bedroom, a photograph appeared on screen. A Polaroid shot of a terrible blank-eyed face with a long, hanging jaw. At first he figured it was just a unique jump scare for the Great Outdoors DOORS update, until he heard rapid footsteps and an enraged screaming coming straight down the hall to his bedroom. No component of the sprawling game that is Roblox has ever felt more anomalous than the recent update to the iconic DOORS game, The Great Outdoors. While all the official records show that the update launched on August 10th, 2025, that isn't actually true. The spooky Roblox update first debuted a night earlier, but was immediately taken down by the SCP Foundation, after an SCP-096 containment breach killed the game's first ever player. Nobody knows how just yet, but it seems that a real picture of SCP-096 was somehow embedded within some early versions of the game. As anyone with even basic Foundation knowledge knows, anyone who sees a photograph of SCP-096's face will activate its homicidal rage state. When that happens, nothing will stop it from finding and killing you. While as you can expect with SCP-096, there was literally nothing left of the boy who earned a place on the Shy Guy's kill list, there was a fascinating piece of evidence left behind, a VOD of a Twitch stream that had thankfully not been viewed by anyone. The following is what happened during that fateful corrupted Roblox game session, and some Foundation researchers have viewed that it may somehow hold the key to SCP-096's origin. The boy woke up on a bed of grass and dirt underneath a starless sky, edges blotted out by the canopies of tall, dark trees. One thing was completely sure to him. There'd been a change, some terrible, unknowable change. He rose to his feet and tried to wipe the blur from his eyes, only to see that the hands that came up to meet his face weren't the standard lo-fi hands you'd expect in a Roblox game. They were spindly and white, with long, thin wrists and gnarled fingers that terminated in ragged claws. Hands that anyone at the Foundation could tell you belonged to SCP-096. That's when he saw the rest of his body. He'd been stretched into terrible, freakish proportions. Arms and legs at least 5 feet long each. Chalk-white skin pulled tight against his bones. We have no idea how or why, but it seemed he was playing the Roblox game as SCP-096. In the game, the boy seemed to be circled on all sides by ancient gnarled oaks. A bitter wind blew between them, and the only light he could see was some distant orange glow beyond the copse. This was a huge contrast to the creepy indoor locales of the DOORS base game. The boy broke into a run for the clearing where that comforting orange light was waiting. As he sped up, he heard something emerge from the tree behind him and pick up speed, getting closer and closer and closer. But as the SCP-096 avatar was almost feeling the terrible hot breath of his pursuer against his neck, he broke from the trees and collapsed out onto the grass. He could see the light now. It was a campfire, burned down to its embers, but still seeming bright against the utter darkness of everything else. Whatever was chasing him didn't want to move beyond the trees. It receded back into the dark, just another indistinct shape. But he wasn't going to try his luck on a night where everything else was going wrong. Safe for now certainly didn't mean safe forever. The boy picked up a stick with his unfamiliar hand and stoked the embers with it until the fire came back to life. Only in the heat of the growing fire did he realize how deathly cold his new skin was. But that wasn't the only thing the fire revealed to him. There was a sign nearby that he could now make out. The faded words read, "The Great Outdoors Summer Camp, where childhoods are made," just like all the trailers. And sure enough, it was a summer camp. He could make out picnic benches, an archery range, distant cabins, and administrative buildings cast in shadow. He remembered this place. He had been here before. The boy cast his eyes down to the ground, and that's when he saw it. Those wet, red streaks all over the ground, like things had been hurt and dragged. It glistened in the dying light of the campfire. It must have been fresh. He was jogged from that disturbing train of thought by a sudden crackle of sound. He noticed there was a walkie-talkie on a nearby bench, and he heard the panicked voice of a middle-aged woman emerging amidst the static, barely above a whisper. "Hello? Is anyone out there?" she said, sounding on the edge of tears. "I need help. They're everywhere. I'm trapped in the mess hall." That voice, so achingly familiar, he felt drawn to the walkie-talkie, picking it up with one of his twisted new hands and lifting it up to his face. "Hello?" he said back. The woman on the other end gasped. "Billy? You're alive! My little baby boy!" One word came flooding back with perfect clarity. Mom. This woman was his mom. "I never thought I'd hear your voice again," she said tearfully before seemingly sniffing her emotions back up. "Listen, Billy, I need you to come to the mess hall. You remember where that is, don't you? Just be careful. You can't let the monsters see you. I never meant for this to happen." The boy, who supposed his name must be Billy, didn't understand much of what was going on. But that thing she said about monsters, he knew that was true. That thing was chasing him through the trees couldn't be anything but a monster. "Just come to the mess hall, sweetie," she said. "Please, I'll explain everything." He clutched the walkie-talkie, his lifeline, his one connection to normality. Billy would go into the mess hall. He would save his mom. He would figure out what happened. But as the signal on the walkie-talkie died, so did the fire, and that's when the movement behind the trees started again. He turned and saw something emerging from the shadows, but the shadows didn't fully leave as it moved. It was a strange and unknowable thing. Too many eyes, too many limbs, too many mouths, crawling and hungry. He screamed at the sight of the monster and ran for his life towards the buildings. The mess hall must have been one of those, he assumed. The monster didn't stop at the trees this time. It spilled out onto the grass and started clawing its way after him with primal enthusiasm. Lucky for Billy, he was fast now. That was a plus of this new body. As he ran, he saw the buildings approaching him at shocking speed, and the monster fading into his periphery. However, things weren't much better among the buildings. There were other creatures much like the one that had chased him out of the woods. Those coal-black conglomerations of wrongness slithering across the ground, roving into the cabins. Billy could hear screaming in some of them. Screaming and then wet chewing. An all-you-could-eat camper buffet. How many had been devoured before he even woke up? How many were even left? Some of the monsters seemed to notice him with their too many eyes and started rolling towards him, grasping and gnashing. He didn't have much meat on his bones anymore, but those things would probably settle for anything, he figured. Billy turned and ran again, still shocked at his own speed. Those monsters were hungry, but at least they were slow. Running didn't even seem to make Billy tired anymore, so perhaps if he kept his wits about him, he could just stay ahead of them forever. He came to a stop on the edge of a lake, water a still black mirror in the night. He noticed a sign on the edge of the lake, faded with time and half obscured with graffiti, but he could still make out the words beneath the big red X. Danger of drowning. Must have been the devs trying to say that the water was a no-go zone. Then a terrifying cutscene began to play. In this cutscene, he wasn't standing on the bank of the lake. He was out swimming in it. No, not swimming. Thrashing. His head bobbed up and down beneath the surface of the water, dry land seeming to be an infinity away. But in this cutscene, he didn't look like he did now. No, back then, thrashing in the lake, he looked like his normal Roblox avatar. Was that who he was, back when everyone called him Billy? The cutscene ended and threw him into a jump scare, the crawling chaos of another one of those monsters. This one was more persistent than its brethren, chasing him all the way out to the lake, and before Billy could even realize what was going on, it was practically upon him. This close, there was no way around it, its grasping hands and ravenous chewing mouths. Without even thinking about it, he mashed buttons on his keyboard and reached forward, in-game, with his long clawed arms and grabbed the creature on either side of what might generously be called its head. The monster squealed and spasmed in his grip, but for some reason, it couldn't break out. Billy, seizing his chance, squeezed tighter and pulled in each direction, ripping the monster in half with the sound of wet tissue tearing. The monster spilled out into liquid shadow with an ear-piercing scream and disappeared entirely. Had he killed one of these monsters with his bare hands? With every moment, things seemed to make less and less sense. He needed to get to the mess hall, to his mother, and then she'd have all the answers he needed. She'd be able to make everything all right again. That's what moms are for, aren't they? He searched from building to building until he found the one with the half-broken sign saying mess hall outside. He expected to feel a sense of comfort upon entering, but no. There was a chill in the air, a sense of electrical tension, a smell like the ozone before a lightning storm. And the deeper he entered the building, the worse it got. Until he entered the dining hall itself, all the chairs and tables had been cleared off to the side, and on the bare floor, concentric circles filled with arcane sigils and blown-out candles were waiting. A book bound in strange, lumpy leather sat off to the side. Billy lifted up the walkie-talkie again. "Mom, I'm here." "Oh, sweetie, thank goodness. I'm in the kitchen just to the left. What happened here?" He couldn't help but ask. There was a funny feeling in his throat. There was a long pause, then tentative at first, but soon with resolute clarity, his mother's voice came in from the other end. "They let you down, Billy. My sweet Billy. They should have protected you, but I promised I'd bring you back. And I did, didn't I? The book said there would be a cost, but I never thought it'd be all these monsters. I'm sorry, Billy. I did my best. Come see your mommy." Billy didn't need to be told twice. He reached out and forced open the door into the kitchen. His own strength still shocked him, the door buckling and breaking under the force of his push. He heard a woman scream on the other side. That must have been his mom. Billy could have wept tears of joy when he saw her. His mother, the woman who'd brought him back from oblivion, huddled in the corner, her makeup running down her cheeks. She was looking at him with the strangest expression. Not joy, not relief. Was that fear? Didn't she recognize him? "Mom, it's me, Billy," he tried to say, but the words, they didn't come out right. Now they were more like a guttural, gurgling scream, and it seemed that the harder he tried to form the words, the more terrible the sound he made. Perhaps if he got closer, his mom would recognize him. Something about his eyes. Couldn't his mother see his soul through his eyes and know that it's just him, just her little baby boy, no matter how much different he looks now? He lumbered towards her, long, rail-thin arms outstretched, and his mother screamed and scrambled out of the corner trying to run. That made him panic. She couldn't leave the room. After all, there were monsters out there. Billy broke into a run, chasing her down. With his long, long legs, it was so easy to catch up to her. She was screaming, "No, no, get away." But he knew that once he got her, he'd be able to explain. He'd calm her down, make it okay. He gathered his mother up into his arms. She thrashed and writhed with all her strength like a fish with a hook through its lip. Billy was worried she would wriggle free and hurt herself. He squeezed just a little tighter, but he didn't know his new strength. Not until he heard that crunch. And then she went limp in his arms. "Mom?" he said, his voice still coming out of his mouth as that wretched, gurgling scream. "Mom, are you okay?" She didn't say a word, didn't move a muscle. She just lay limp as an old doll in his arms. "Mom, Mommy, please," he gurgled out to no response. He laid her gently on the ground, hoping that maybe he could bring her back through sheer force of denial, but no such luck. Her body just laid there, glassy eyes staring out at nothing. Billy began to cry these awful heaving sobs as fat tears rolled down his cheeks. Why did she run? She wanted him to come here. What would make her run away from him? That's when he turned and caught a terrible sight. A monster staring right at him. The most horrifying one he'd ever seen. Far worse than the creatures he'd seen outside. This warped, stretched parody of a human face, with the vacant white eyes of the dead, and a jaw hanging long and slack, as if broken, giving way to a black abyss within. And worse still than this monstrous face was where Billy had seen it. One of the kitchen's many reflective surfaces. It was him. That terrible monster was him. He began to wail in grief for both his mother and the boy he used to be. He'd killed his own mom. He was a monster now. He couldn't even bear to look at his own face anymore. And in that moment, he made a pact with himself. If he couldn't bear to look upon his own face, neither could anyone else. Then, a real photograph of the Shy Guy's face flashed up onto the screen, and the true horror began. Now check out SCP-096, trapped inside Infinite IKEA. Can SCP-3008 employees see Shy Guy? Or SCP-096, look at a picture of Shy Guy in space. The Shy Guy questions and theories. For more,